Hello, sports fans. Welcome back. This is the Crank Brothers Race Review Series. This is the Moving Needle podcast. I'm Andrew Neutling. I'll be your host. But don't worry, I won't bore you to death because I've got someone that was at the race, none other than Sven Martin, who's a photographer for the World Cups, used their shoes, their pedals, an integral part of their Crank Brothers marketing. You've heard his voice as well because we do awesome sort of rider interviews we sometimes throw at the end. But Crank Brothers, man, Sven, they've celebrated 13 in a row at the World Champs wins last year on that Mallet DH pedal. They've added shoes. I mean, people like Ronan Dunn, winner. Lucas Shaw almost damn well try to win this race. Troy Brosnan on a heater these days. But if you're going to have a pedal, you would want it to be Crank Brothers in those conditions at Leogang. Because for me, that's one of the main topics. Sitting afar away is always the weather conditions at Leogang. They play a factor in the race.
Well, I mean, top 5 men's Crank Brother pedals. I mean, what else can you say to that? Women's winner, Crank Brother pedals. Like, it pretty much says it for itself. And yeah,
in the modern era, they've got to be the winningest by far in the modern era of downhill.
I mean, yeah, like, for sure. And you know what? Talking about weather, as mixed up with weather as we've had it, we lucked out and dodged so many bullets. Because this morning, it was just pissing down its rain and would have been way worse. And sometimes Mondays, like when you have a shitty weather World Cup, like Monday's like a blue sky day, it's like normally, but not this weekend. It looked like we were going to get heavy rain each day, really, and it just never materialized. But we did have rain overnight, and so the track stayed consistently wet and consistently inconsistent, I guess was the theme of it. And again, race day was even a bit more than everything else because it was a heavy downpour on Saturday night, which definitely changed the track from basically people all pretty much switched lines for the final woods on race day, I would say.
Yeah, it plays such a heavy role in that race. And I think to explain it, and you can unpack it after me, is the type of dirt and soil. So we've got sort of the bike park gravel that they use, which does do well with dirt. Sometimes when that gets too dry, it's sort of shaly, it's loose, so a bit of moisture there is good. But because it's so hard pack, and then when it starts drying out, but it's not fully dry, we call it peanut butter. There's mud, there's dirt, there's shit that gets dragged onto the hard pack line. Now, no tire's going to grip because you've got a loose surface on a hard pack surface, not to mention It's wet. And then in the woods now, we're a couple of years in there, and the similar thing is happening in the woods because sometimes the woods would stay wet, but it was softer. So tires could dig in. You could maybe gamble, ride a cut spike or something and say, look, I'm really going to go hell for leather like Reece Wilson did at Worlds, run some tires, commit in the woods, make up a bunch of time. That strategy is changing a bit. You see Loic running outsides, keeping it simple, maybe not that confident because he knows how inconsistent it is. And it really is challenging. It plays on your mind, I think, mentally. And probably a story of the race. I mean, you unpacked Finn Iles on Misspent Summer. To me, Finn Iles is probably the storyline of the week, like how unique, how different, how surprising, but not surprising.
Yeah.
To me, that's like him taking a day off. People think, oh, he's got less runs, he's got this. If he had tried to ride that day properly, he'd probably just hurt his confidence. Okay, my hand's not strong enough. I'm not feeling good in these lines. Like it's almost like ignorance was bliss at that stage, getting to a final.
He said he knew if he rode that day, he would blow his hand off the bar and he would end up with a bigger crash that would affect the rest of his season more. So he was willing to maybe get a slightly worse result here rather than push on that Saturday and potentially ruin his whole season. So he made a smart choice. And then you never know with racing. Obviously, more runs is better, but you never know. Like him having skipped that Saturday, he didn't get super comfortable with how the woods are running and the lines and everything. So he basically, it was a fresh start for everyone on Sunday morning, and he was the most rested up. And he also he knew that with having the least practice, he had to run intermediate tires where a lot of other guys were like, oh, what do I run? Because it's, the motorway, you can bleed speed on slow rolling tires. But he knows he's already got the magic button. He had a really good exit line, probably the fastest exit out of the stumps out of anyone, which set him up for the next minute of track. And so he happily rode intermediate, pretty aggressive intermediates in the woods. So he didn't have to have any mental doubt. Yet as he said, he literally ran into the woods going quite quick and forgot he had done the 2 new lines that he practiced that morning, because on the Friday he was running the steep drop. He was running the the straight inside high line to the right, and then Sunday morning he practiced the safer, wider one with the catch berm that a couple of people still blew off the back of. But in his race run, he forgot which line he was meant to be on, and he ran the ones that he was practicing on Friday, which, who knows, that some it helped him, because it was a bit quicker if he could ride with confidence. And and his chat with me basically just illustrates how important your mental self-belief and your game and also like just the preparation for a big season, and how strong your, that crash, he said, if you're not built like a brick house, those crashes are just going to affect you that much more. And he said he slept so much on the Saturday, his body was just like, so yeah, his hand was the one that got hurt, but when you hit the ground that hard, it's like whole body's getting hurt, So he did a smart thing, and he's definitely not the young, dumb, like Finn from ages ago. He's like a super calculated, like, racer, and they got the whole, like, sort of team stood behind him, and it's obviously the perfect ending to the story for him. Maybe the perfect one would have been him beating Loic, but like, he's got to be happy with that result.
No, he was, and obviously it's a bit of a surprise, and there's so many things to unpack, and he'll probably realize later, less is more, quality over quantity. These guys know that already, but it's interesting because sometimes you override a track, you make a few more mistakes, now you start doubting a line, you sort of, trauma's maybe not the right word, but some sections can create trauma for a rider, and then you're over worrying about that, and you're not focusing on the rest of the track. And for someone like Finn, there was distractions. He's not even thinking about lines. He's not thinking about, can he win? Will he get a podium? Will he beat Loic? I know he doesn't think about that anymore. I'm joking, but he's just distracted. It's beware the injured rider. It's one of those things again. Expectations drop. You're focusing on just the exact important things. Like, let me get the body to the start line. Let me get relaxed. Let me simplify my lines. Okay, my mechanic's taking care of my bike setup. I can't even ride the thing in practice. I'll just tell him what I hope I need. I mean, it's brilliant. And he said it. Loic said it. Well, Loic said it more than him. The conditions were technically probably faster for Loic in spots. You can't pick apart the whole track. Maybe you do want a little bit of moisture in certain places, like Sector 2. Finn rode the live-in daylights out of that sector and then carried the momentum onto the motorway. So that was incredible. And I think for the viewer at home that's watching, I just watched that exit onto the motorway, and people think it's a pretty simple section. It's all about the stumps. The stumps set you up. And if you're patient there, it might look slower, but people like Luca, people like Troy are always so good at those sections. Loic, I think, changed the line there, ran in the grass or something. Then someone like Ronan Dunn, super aggressive, wanting it. He messed that up or crashed there. Someone like Asa Vermetti, that you've got an interesting story. He came in so hot into the stumps that he just wasn't ready for the motorway. Like, to me, that on the outside, people think that's such a simple section. Why are you talking about it? But you carry, like, I don't know, it feels like a kilometer ahead of that is super important.
But it's a game of inches and milliseconds, and that's what it's come down to. Some people can't tell those differences, but it's why we have podcasts like this and nerd out on 4 inches and 4 milliseconds. It's pretty impressive to watch. And yeah, shame with Asa, like, especially first year junior, I've always, like, I'm not a team manager, but the first year for a junior is all about, like, learning, making the mistakes, because you learn more from the mistakes you made than the wins you take, and if this situation popped up in an elite race or a champs, or there's so many other things where it would have been worse off for him, and he's only done 3 World Cups. And when you told as a junior, like, you see a red flag, you better stop, otherwise you get DQ'd. But he hasn't done a World Cup at bloody Leogang, and every kid, like, it's like Stiggle's the local beer brand, but you got, like, they hand it out to all the 6-year-olds and 12-year-olds as they're marching in the track. So you just got these underage kids waving beer flags, and he just saw red and waved flag, and he thought, like, yeah. So I think Nico told him, like, next time you think you see a red flag, go till the next red flag, and then you'll know for sure. Like, just stop at the first red flag.
Yeah, wait till the red flag's in your front of your goggles. Then you're like, okay, that's a red flag.
Wait till there's a guy rugby tackling you off your bike, then you know you should stop.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring the age up because I was going to try deliver it for you, but you started it. So you can't blame him. He's American. You're only allowed to drink in America at 21. This kid's a teenager. Yeah. He doesn't know what a Stiegel is. He doesn't know that it's red and white. The poor guy, if he was Austrian, man, like you said, you see the flags. Stopped. You've had a beer already by 13 in Oktoberfest. So, you know, for sure. It's just luck of the draw there. But his interview and his humility, and he's just awesome. And I reached out to Whiteley and I said, just let me understand the story, because you obviously said this is a topic. And then I started researching it. And he said, no, the UCI was great, and he's owned the mistake. I watched the video on Pink Bike, and I did, and shame. You know, he's like, I just made a mistake. But it is laughable because he's a junior, and it doesn't really matter in the long run. And to be honest, he did crash. He crashed already, thank goodness. Like, if he hadn't crashed, then he's up by 5 seconds, and he parks it in the woods. You're like, what are you doing? This isn't qualifying for world champs where you want to slow down. What's going on?
Yeah, but I mean, literally, he lost the leader's jersey by 5 points that he's in second. So, like,
no, it's not ideal, but
he might have still. Yeah, but imagine at the end of the year, say he has 1 or 2 other issues in later on. Imagine at the end of the year he misses the title by 5 points because he stopped for a Stiegel flag. Fuck,
dude, he might never touch a beer in his life. That might be a good thing.
Yeah, definitely not a Stiegel.
Definitely not a Stiegel. Hey, Stiegel, if you're listening, I'll take the sponsorship, though. I don't have a beer sponsor, so I'm open to it. It's good beer.
Yeah. I drink Devil's Peak myself. But I tell you what, Andrew, there's certain riders where it's like, sorry to say this, but like you kind of get a little bit excited if there's a good finish line jump and they crash, like Brendan or Bernard. Like there's a couple of guys, like, oh, sick, he crashed. Like he's stuck with somebody where they actually they're all like serious when it's racing, and then like if him or Frick's crash in their race run, he's like, okay guys, you just literally you reframe your shot. And luckily one of the filmers, I think it was a sleeper co, they're like, dude, he's gonna come heavy riders right. So he jumped into the finish bowl and so he was winding up for the massive pull, and out of like, I don't know, all the riders, a couple hundred, he literally just was the high. We'll find the photo. You can get it. But just it gave a massive pull and just did the steezes. Like people that have been introduced to him through World Cup just think he's a fast kid. You got to see what else the kid can do. It's almost like
check his Instagram. If that jumps any steeper, he could backflip something. I bet it's gonna happen.
But what he did was sick, and he's like Jackson, where he could be a slope styler, he could be a Seminic, he could be a moto guy. He's just like one of these. I would say they come around once a generation, but we've had Jackson and Navagadesa already, so he's got a few more years to prove himself. But it's pretty, and then you got all the bloody junior girls. I mean, who would have thought? I would not have thought.
Yeah, I think you messaged me more about the junior girls than the males.
Yeah,
I think you did. I was this round at least.
Because I only get a few glimpses of the live feed because I'm busy working and sometimes you're not near a monitor. But what I did catch is I just caught up in the corner of my eye, Erisa's section of the motorway after that scrub bridge, which is after the little tuck photo. So you're kind of halfway down the motor. You've done the first 2 big slow jumps. But then the next fast section, I've never seen I would just say almost a person just scrub so well and aggressively and hard and functional. And it was from the fucking junior girl. I was like, I have to watch. I just made a mental note, watch junior women's replay. And it was like, how cool is the sport? Because I don't think a couple of years ago, maybe when Vale was junior woman, but then they didn't have a live feed. I was thinking wow, how cool is the sport that I'm excited to watch a junior women's replay. And I suggest you guys go do that if you missed the junior women's. But just I challenge any top elite rider to ride those sections as well as Iris did. So hats off to her. And she's just one of the smallest girl in the common cells on the lightest bikes, and she just manhandled that thing. Actually, you probably can't even say man. Can we say manhandled these days?
I don't
handled
know
her bike.
anymore. I don't.
Okay, well,
So did she woman
She
handle
woman-
her bike?
yeah.
Okay, but
And
yeah, we
then,
got in trouble for saying girls before, but they say it and everyone says it, so we can't get in trouble for that. But
You know what?
no, she
wait,
junior woman handled her bike like a champ, and I'm not saying it. Rachel Atherton said she scrubbed better than Loic. I didn't say it. I'm just repeating what I heard. No, that was cool. That was exciting. I like that.
While we're on the junior women's topic, I didn't realize this, but I just learned now, and it's pretty cool how the elite women, there's such a stacked field, and for sure we need more in the final, and I wouldn't just lobby for 15, we need 20, but the junior women, so when they do team points, I just found out that the junior women, the winning junior men got 20 points for the team, towards the team overall, 20 points for junior men. The junior woman for first gets 6 points to the team overall. And I don't know, in this day and age and with the level of performance and same track, I don't think that's really acceptable. And these teams are doing the right thing and investing in
points. Quarter of the points. How many are in the final versus the juniors? 10?
Yeah,
10
but
and the junior
but
men
the
are
thing is,
20.
you're going to just have the points go less deep with numbers. But I wouldn't say like the top 3 junior women are worth less points wise than the top 3 junior men. Like, because
no, I was just like trying to guess where they like got the percentage or where they got the numbers from. Like devil's advocate, I'm just like wonder what they went off.
For sure, and I don't know if equal points is. I mean,
No,
in this day
equals
and age,
not fair.
equals equal.
I would. Okay, but equals a dangerous word in this topic.
Equal is not fair. You can't. That just makes no sense. Equal is not fair. Equal is 100% fair. And
equals fair. But if there's less riders in the
5
final, how do you give them the same points as the men?
Yeah, but the points
points
just end. The points just end. Like as a team category, you want to encourage his teams to.
I see what you mean.
To nurture and develop talents.
That's cool.
And like, yeah, it's pretty. Anyway, pretty cool. Joe Bowman's union team was like eighth overall. You know, like on the day of the team, and that's for a team that's like not an elite team and not in the pretty amazing.
No, I mean that's got to be the second biggest storyline is for Loic to do what he did in Poland. Impressive, right?
Like the story is falls over to Anna Newkirk as well. How union team and
totally.
what Anna did, it's how they doing it on like
we'll be talking
10th,
about her
100th
for
100th of the budget, or 1/10.
We'll be talking about her for sure, but maybe we segue. So for Loic said how nervous he was. No wonder. For you to do so well in Poland, throw it away in the final. But I commend him. He was pushy. He wasn't riding tight. He just came into fast, missed the line. We've unpacked that with Alan. Now he comes over to Leogang. He's got the confidence of riding well. Now he qualifies well again. I know very well myself how stressful that is. I have myself been up at Leogang after qualifying 4th, and I managed to have about 3 crashes by the first split.
Oh, man.
So for him to realize how nervous he was and deal with that and put down a run and push, and I learned that. It took me longer than him to be like, I'd rather go down swinging than ride this tight, weird, protective, get down and get a 7th. Like, no. So it's cool to see the youngsters able to do that. And that's really, I'm so stoked for that he was able to get over the line the very next race. Because if it doesn't happen and then it drags, then it becomes like a storyline for you to ask him about. So I love it. He's awesome. He says he's got barely anything to say, just lets his riding do the speaking. And he rode like a bat out of hell down that hill. Like he was, I think he washed the back off the root gap after the wall ride. I think there was lots of exciting stuff. So
and he's doing
cool.
like his own. He's doing his own lines as well. He's finding his own lines, riding his own lines. And I did forget his pedigree. I would say he's had a lifetime of BMX racing at the highest level, because I asked him about his mental game and he's like, bro, I've raced fucking BMX all my life, and you know how those kids are drilled, and it's racing. So actually, as a racer, he has that back end mental game sitting right there, which is probably why it only took him one race to fix his mistake from Poland. And now you said if you rode tight and you qualified 4th and made mistakes and then you end up in 7th, it's like, These days, you ride tight and you lose a second or two. You're not ending up in the 7th. You're ending up in 27th. It's nuts.
Exactly. And that burns, even though the time gaps, you're totally right. So that's exactly what could happen. But that makes sense. It's like Gwyn coming into the scene. Like, where did this guy come from? Like, I don't know. He rode motocross since he was in diapers. Like, you subconsciously learn to deal with the pressure and what you need and all those things. And maybe it was more pressure than he's felt, but maybe not. Maybe he's forgetting what he felt in a BMX race back in the day when it meant something to him. So that's awesome. I hope he can build from that. And what a story from Bowman to have that guy on the podium for all that hard work. To be on a shoestring budget is stressful. It's hard. And it's between him and a Newkirk's team. Yeah.
You know where Lackey is today in the rain? He's out testing. Him and his mechanic are up on the hill, and they obviously figured or found something that they wanted to try or test based off this race, even though he had his good result. Like, even they don't rest on their laurels, and like after a massive weekend like you've had, and you finish on the podium, like not even just podium, top 3, you think you take the day off, you think you might have had 1 or 2 beers too many last night, but no, they're out testing this morning in the rain. So they've obviously found something that they want to have ready for Val di Sole. So that's
impressive,
commendable, Yep.
And listening to him, he said he wouldn't be probably having beers. He's going to do that in Val di Sole because it's such a tight turnaround. So there's maturity there, even though he's a young New Zealander, obviously he likes. And then what struck me is he said he actually dreamt this, right? And that's one thing. Another thing is he did believe he could do it. He had the confidence. Like, that's interesting. Often you need to see it before you go, yeah, I believed I could be up there with the top guys. He's like, no, I kind of knew inside I could do it. So I see a lot of maturity there. And he also spoke about his off-season. He had the best off-season preparation. I'm like, I don't even know who this guy barely is. Is he doing training?
No, he was always
sidelined. No, he's professional.
He was sidelined with injuries before. He was sidelined with injuries before, and that's why he never got noticed earlier by the big teams. So we're gonna put a crowdfunding. He spoke to
one of the New Zealand nationals coming in the whole off season, just first. Like, he's shit hot. Maybe the storyline then is we flip flop, we make it equal, and a Newkirk.
Yeah.
She's so nice. She said, well, I'm kind of not a private to you. I kind of break even, so you can keep the check, Win. But I mean, if you want to give it to me, you can give it to me. Are you joking?
Yeah.
She literally breaks even, which means she makes no money. Like, then how do you eat when you're not at a race? Like, she's so humble. That was special, man.
She said she had like a mechanic this race and a line coach, which is like kind of like she hasn't had before, or she's invested more into it, or who knows what. But yeah, she was like trying to also like put off the fact that it's tougher for her. And I'm like, yeah, like, anyway, she, like you said, she is so cool, and it's good for both her and Lackey to prove that Poland was or she qualified, was it for William, but like she's had a super good quali earlier on in the season, and it's like this just basically solidifies that result, and the bike designer, that's Evan Turpin. Remember racing him in the Normas? Like, he was the ultimate bike geek. Yeah. So
Nico mentioned, and I was like, oh, I didn't actually follow that story. That's cool.
Yeah. So
back in the Normas.
It's awesome. Yeah, and he's like a mad scientist. You got
frameworks by Nico and Evan Turpin. They've all had World Cup
and
podiums
these are all
and
our old Norma contemporaries. Well, like, they were
Cesar
just starting
Rojo, was
when
he
I
not
was
one of the first ones in my generation to design bikes? Maybe there'd been people before. I mean, I'm probably missing that.
Yeah.
Someone hit us up in the comments if before my era someone retired and actually designed a bike from scratch-ish. I mean, people give feedback, and Fabian Burrell's half a bike designer, but I don't know, to like start a bike brand and like be like the engineer, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's cool because besides all the things that you get, those marginal gains when you have the big team set up with, with the chef and the masseuse and the everything, also just having the correct team environment can go a long way. If you look after the important things and, cut budget on the other things, so you're sharing a room, or there's just right to focus on the right things, and the environment for the riders, the culture of the team and the pits and the vibe goes a long way to a successful race weekend. And just it's cool to see, from the most high tech bikes. I'm not going to say Anders is a low tech bike, but you got both ends of the spectrum right there. So pretty awesome. And and then you can, and then just watching Vale, like that margin is big margin, and but if you compare the factory setups, the trucks, the electronic suspension, and that you can still be competitive, that's a great sport. You just it's almost like run what you brung, but not really, because we know how the sport is now. But it is cool to see little fairy tales in our sport.
No, we love it. We love it. That made me think, everyone says, oh, it's so mental, but you need technique to have confidence and all these things, right? You need the environment. At a certain level, you start needing the environment. And someone like PD running his own program was a pretty small program. Yes, he made salary, he made good money, but he went to that, his own run Orange team for a stage, Right, and that was the environment he needed at that stage. And then he
2001 on the Orange team?
Yeah, he had huge results. You can look back. He was got some famous second places at Worlds on the Orange with just Andy Kiffin. I don't even know who else was supporting him and cooking food and stuff. That was when there was less line spotters and stuff like that. But we basically just got half the line spotters fired, me included, when I'm at a race, because Finn didn't even remember half his lines. So, there's that part.
Yeah,
but
I remember when line spotters was...
Yeah?
I remember when line spotters was just a world champs thing, and we'd make fun of all the line spotters, because there'd be 7 French dudes with dad cams. They actually had the cool pan and zoom dad cams, and now it's just cluttered with just people think I used to shout at people to get out of the shot. I'm literally just shouting at line coaches to get out of the shot now, or not shouting, because I'm requesting politely if they can see the same line from the other side of the track.
Yeah. I believe you. I believe you. But I even know about it, and I get in the way. But so it's an interesting time. The newer generation they got phones in their pocket and on their WhatsApp groups. I'm thinking back to when I was racing. Too many inputs for certain riders, not good. So you got to learn that. Speaking of environment, how much input you take and when, and that's a line spotter's job as well, to know what to feed them and what a rider needs. So it's super interesting. You just got all this information, all the tech coming. Eventually, we're going to be in an overload. So that's going to be an interesting time as well. But you mentioned Vali, dominating performance, and you spoke about the junior women, the woman. That is a new era of downhill riding. That run, the way she handles the bike, and how experience is shining through now in the woods. She didn't override it, but it was just so much just speed and braking at the right place. But at the top, just scrubs. And she's the only one that got close to jumping those wooden kickers into the motorway after the stumps. Literally, pedal, pump, correct pop, downside, off we go. It was it looked different. Looked totally different to some of the other ladies, I'm sorry to say. And they'll know it. They can see it.
And her and Lisa, Lisa Baumann was on the podium, her second podium, and Reese. So Reese and Lisa are on Cecile Ravenel and Cedric Ravenel's team, Commental Les Ors, but they share the same coach, because they coach Vale as well. So training camps, Vale rides with these two other girls that, and then first and second runs, first day practice, there's always 3 of them, which irritates me, but it is what it is, and it's working for them, so I'm not going to tell them to stop. But there's always a train of 3. You can't get a Vale shot without one of the other 2 girls behind, and then every now and then actually Vale goes behind them, which is pretty cool to see as well. So it's a symbiotic relationship, I guess, and it keeps Vale sort of also they get a lot more friends to have in the pits and take your time off things. So yeah, it's everything's it's just cool. And even though the junior girls, again, the biggest competitors are the closest friends as well. It's kind of like that in the elite men's as well. We need a bit more we need a few more villains so we can like, for us armchair guys, create some rivalry, but there's not a hell of a lot of rivalry. There's no like PD versus Nico and Samuel versus Bobby, and there's none of that like
Greg
vibes
versus Gwen.
really out there.
Yeah, like they don't really wouldn't even talk
G,
to
the
each
Vulcan,
other.
and they had like a crazy kooky DJ, which I actually loved at this event. And every time someone crashed, he'd be like, "Oh no, like that song."
That song,
and,
yeah.
I was just hoping like when someone like lined up in their start gate, it would just be like Star Wars, like the big Death Star, like just the no. Come on, who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?
They'll have to do that for Loic. Super Bruni.
He's too clean to be the villain.
So is Valley then
superhero.
safely? Look, there's so many ladies, and no one should take this the wrong way. They're doing hardline, Tarnay or Tarni. Why do I think it's? I mean, I don't even say it correctly, and everyone else says Tarni.
Potato.
So, well, I mean, if she ever hears this, I have the utmost respect for trying to pronounce it correctly. It's a goddamn English name. It's not like she's French and I'm butchering it.
Well, she pretty much grew up
doing
in France.
hardline.
She grew up in France, so there's definitely two ways of saying Tarna's name. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
I would
with
say,
the utmost respect,
not to take...
Valley is changing women's downhill. The way you need to ride the bike, at least.
Yeah, but let's not forget, Andrew, a couple of the Valley had won all the splits, but also there's a couple that weren't that far behind. They were within touch, and then they did have their woods go wrong. So, there was a lot going on the finals day, and as you saw, we've probably not had this many crashes and mistakes at a World Cup in more than a year.
No, you won't. You won't. It's the inconsistency of that dirt.
Yeah, that'll obviously add to her margin, and with Cammy being out, and then Nina going down and having her elbow issues, and then Tiny. So like the margin might not have been as big if things played out differently. So, but yeah.
But what I mean is, so not like the margin, and she's the only one that can go fast. Like Marine Cabarrou went crazy well at Poland. Cammy on her day when she's back fighting. Miriam Nicole's coming. Tani is so fast. She's right there again. What I mean is, now Iris, the way she rides a bike is actually following how Valley rides the bike.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what I mean by changing it. Like, these ladies are women handling the bikes around. They are dictating what happens on the lip. They're scrubbing. They're bunny hopping into downsides. That type of shit. That's what I mean.
I remember
does that make more sense now?
Yeah, I remember when I stopped racing and started shooting. So that's 2008.
You couldn't bunny hop.
Was my
what?
last racing.
You could bunny hop, no, man. Bro. Come on.
I didn't say that. Clips, bro. Clips. If you don't need a bunny hop, you got clips.
No. Yank with your feet.
Yank, the double wheel yank. I always remember thinking like, oh yeah, when I was stop racing, I was like, oh, I could be still beating this guy, and I like for sure I'd win the women's class for sure. Oh yeah, I could beat Rachel. Then I was like, probably can't win the women's class anymore. And then it was like, I could be good. And then like Valley, I was like, yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't beat Valley. And then it was like in the juniors, and now I was like, you know what? Like pretty much all the junior women would also smoke me now. So it's like, I don't know. And it's not me getting older and riding worse. It's the junior woman. It's the women.
Yes. I had the same thought. I was watching and I was like,
Brendan said you'd get smoked by the junior women.
I honestly, it's not about me. I can get down a downhill track still. Don't worry. Like, I can do the jumps and stuff. Like, I think I would crash down the woods section, not just racing. Like, it took finesse and like the correct braking and maneuvering and the way Reese rode down there. I thought she literally, there's like a good chance she's riding that better than a lot of men.
Yeah.
Like, and cleanly. I had the same thought. I was like, I want no part of that track. And then the junior women are like, well, I made this look easy, so why don't you try it?
And Ellie in quali, also with a good chunk margin, she was the second fastest timed run on quali. Her qualifier was the second fastest in the women's field complete. So, we're seeing the junior girls do things like Jackson and Jordan and Asa in terms of how their times would stack up in the elites. Obviously the race day is a different morning at quite a bit of different time in terms of racing conditions. But like Ellie is first year junior as well. Reese has learned so much. She had a huge crash here last year, and she's like was making all the junior mistakes, and Ellie is just figuring out all that. She has crazy speed and bike ability, and the rate, figuring out the exact mix in the racing, that she will figure out. So yeah, it's cool. Like I said, we're not just talking about one junior. It wasn't like just Vale or Vale and Milena, because there were people that beat Vale when she was a junior. In fact, I think Anna not one of the girls that beat Vale at one of the junior races? I think perhaps
she did mention she's been racing her and she's super happy for it and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, there's some of that.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's not just like one junior. It's not just two juniors. There's like 5 juniors that are killing it and are pushing each other. So yeah.
No, totally. I think shifting gears or carrying on, not because they deserve any less, as we've just literally used a lot of time on how amazing that is. The storylines are really cool in the women's, and maybe we wrap it up a little bit and then cruise on to some maybe, Loic deserves a lot of credit on his race. However, Miriam Nicole, I mean, that was an emotional podium for her. Apparently the 60th podium in 80 starts or 80 races. So that's crazy. And it would have been, she's 34. She's been through a hell of a lot. That's really cool. That's great. So now she's back in the mix. Tani was really fast. She was pushing. She says she just is going for the win now. So that's great. That inside line they did in the woods, I was shocked when she went for it. And then Vali went and did, and I was like, okay, well, I proved my thought wrong, that why on earth would you go up there? And then Jess blew it. Did you obviously heard what happened to Jess before her race run. She almost gave herself stitches, slipping out of her team truck and banged her head.
I saw that on Insta stories last night. Yeah.
Shame. She's fast, dude. That was second at the third split. That's going to give you confidence and give you a nice pat on the back. You didn't go to hardline, even though you could. You could have done the road gap like some of those ladies at hardline and get the recognition, but your decision is paying off to just focus on the World Cup for now. So that's cool. Although it's bittersweet. She was second at the split.
Yeah.
The third split.
Yeah, no, depth all over the women's field. But hey, this is pretty cool. We've literally almost spoken an hour exclusively on women, and junior women have taken a big chunk of that. So maybe we should talk about the men before Ziggy and Anke get back, because then it's over.
Then that's perfectly fine. So, Loic Bruni, he still speaks about his self-confidence, and he still speaks,
after that wall ride, he doubled, he quadded, I think 3, maybe Luke and Troy quadded in there as well.
Yeah, there was minimal people, but it's fascinating. A guy like that to talk about not being that confident, self-belief, and the conditions. I mean, that's what drives him. He's forever figuring out how to go faster. Forever, he's just. It's all clicking now. Those off-season gains that he tried to work on are working. So he's just going to be so dangerous. I think Val de Sol is going to click as well for him. He can say he doesn't like the track. Maybe he's trying to take the pressure off himself, but the way he rode that track, and I understand. Okay, I've got a question. Was he not confident in those conditions because he's so used to having his bike set up? He's so used to feeling exactly how he can feel, so he knows where to push. When it's inconsistent, is he then going, I'm not feeling good, so I can't be riding well, whereas every other rider is feeling just as unsettled and shit. They just don't think about it and they're used to it. It's almost like a perfectionist.
Well, when you're a perfectionist, and he kind of made me realize when I was talking how cool the Ludenville track was, because for us, and it was steep and new and natural, breaking apart, he says, Sven, yes, but for me, for how I ride and how I race, I couldn't trust the track for giving it like he gives it. So he wants to be, like you said, a perfectionist. He wants to ride every line and section to the maximum capability, to the optimum, as Fabian would say. But so that's probably why he's not super cool when it's conditions. But like you said, it affects everyone, and he maybe just thinks it's him that doesn't like it. But it didn't look like it affected him, because he was like technician, tactician, whatever you want to call it. He's looked 100% confident, committed in his lines, and slightly bit drier course than Finn had. But man, he didn't. It looked like, I would have said, from watching practice, the other people that could threaten Loic was like Luca and Troy. Bernard looked real good. Maybe Luca, to me, might have been the guy that also could have won the race, just judged on practice, because he also has, I think he wins the motorway section nearly every year. Like maybe Finn did this year, but Luca is like, he just does something, whether it's pedaling or tucking or he's milking, because Luca's also got the BMX skills. And every rider that's got this pump track skills, like Tahudu in some sections, like they can just milk the track speed. Yeah, man. And the cool thing is, Loic was doing this before he had the electronic aid, which at a track like Leogang will help, but he's doing it also with and without, So this year, yeah, we just keep saying the same thing about Loic, don't we? Like,
yeah, but it's he deserves it. It's like talking about Greg and the GOAT. It's he deserves it. It is. This is going to sound interesting. It is only his 10th World Cup win, and he's got 4, 5 elite world champs. I always forget the number because he's got the junior one as well. So his ratio of World Cup wins to his world champs wins was really odd in an impressive way. So he's like ticking those off, and he keeps mentioning he's 30. So he deserves all the credit, And I think someone that's going to take a lot of confidence from this race, even though it's going to hurt, is Luca. Second at the third split when he made his issues. It was just, I think it was a racing incident. As we said, we've never seen so many mistakes and crashes in a final. Those conditions at this level in the sport, you can't ride a safe run. You've got to ride an attacking run and be willing to have a slip, and he just got off balance and lost too much time in the woods.
Some of the saves were amazing, and talking about live feed, what I did see of the live feed, obviously I don't hear any of the commentary or anything, but to me the live feed looked amazing. Obviously there's still like the way too high drone angle for some riders for too long, but just watching the some of the FPV stuff and where they cut, and it was just good. And then to me they almost like that was the producer, as soon as there was a crash, they quickly, on a boring section of the guy's run further down, that quickly showed 2 quick replays of the crash, and then not like have an effect that there was really, everything was just seemed pretty dull.
I would say the feedback on that.
Yeah, it just looked like we're just seeing more of, we're missing less of the good stuff that's happening, especially when you get the full runs of the top 10 guys.
Okay, so me at home, what's interesting is they cut to some rider interviews at the finish.
So we don't see that on our screen.
Yeah, do you not? So then what happens is... No,
we just see the race live, yeah.
They cut, but there's 2 screens, so it's fine. You see the riding. Then they cut the commentary, but I'm pretty sure they must be still recording the commentary, because if they're not, imagine that's the winning run. So they must still be... I think they're recording the commentary and then they cut the sound, so that's fine. It's totally fine. I would personally prefer to stay on the rider on screen, but it's subjective for everyone. It's you need to work those interviews in when there's like a gap between 11th rider and 10th, but it's not my job. It's not a huge thing. It's like a subjective feedback. And then the drone footage is epic. However, I remember watching Leogang in the past where you see far more of the top, and it is really impressive to see that on close-up cameras. The speed and going through the tunnel on the rocks. And that off camber where they were like launching onto that, like what is a simple off camber when Nina crashed. So that's just my opinion. It's not wrong or right. I would rather see more close up of like especially that section. And Fort William had the same issue. Is the drone is epic. You want to see where we're riding in the mountains.
Yeah, you want to set the scene and then move on to the next top of camera.
I'm not in the room, so I'm sure there's many reasons why they do it. But as far as like, it's definitely improving every race. It's cool. It's fun. I would love to have seen a few more on the ground shots, but it takes timing and logistics and money and God knows what else, to be fair. But yeah, Luca was super, super impressive. I mean, he's fast. He apparently pulls away from Troy Brosnan, who's obviously lighter, when Troy's in his slip on the motorway.
Slipstream,
It's just BMX background. Troy is amazing at it, but you subconsciously know the exact backside. And when to pedal, when to pump. Like, it's so second nature for him.
Did you say BMX background so you get some cool pink bike love? Because that's like a trendy comment, BMX background.
No, I think I used to stupidly say it in Crankworks. I think I oversaid it in my Crankworks commentary.
Maybe you started the whole BMX background.
Yeah, because half
that pink bike reality show used to always be, she has a BMX background, and that was like, that was just for the next couple of years.
Here's the problem. Half of those people are BMX background that come to Crankworks and do pump track and so on. What else must I talk? We don't know the guy.
More than half of the people.
Like, I should actually say, oh, here's a rider. I should have said, here's a rider with a mountain bike background.
That doesn't have a BMX background.
Yeah.
And Sven Martin, many years ago, when I think he was doing super well, Leogang, and he blew wide right and kind of went over the tape and got a DQ, and he maybe would have got an early podium in his career.
Yeah.
And then this year he did the opposite, because he he went wide on a left hander. Now this year it's a right hander, and he lost his feet, and he would have been kind of looked like he was a solid for the podium if that didn't happen.
Yeah, I looked at the splits. I don't want to take away from his ride. I looked at his split.
No, because but if you look at his other splits, like the sector split was in this, the split time was in slightly the wrong place, as you would have seen with guys being green, but then coming out of the woods slower, because if they'd put that split time literally 20 meters further down the track, that was having all the issues. It would have told quite a different story on the splits. But
he could have made it up. He wasn't far off Benoit Coulange, to be fair, and that's who you
normally
should
that
compare
would be
it to.
he was one of the fastest cars on that sector where he did mess up. Yeah.
So but would you say these issues are from lapse of concentration because you're near the finish? I think they're actually from how hard these guys are still pushing. So I know sometimes if you have a good run, you would let up, and you could go slower, or you could make a mistake because you're not like in the zone pushing. And to me, these guys are just pushing so hard that it was like a racing incident in a corner that has no support.
You can't, like, literally, you used to be able to push that hard for the win. Now you got to push that hard for a podium or a top 10. Like, so the podium guys are pushing for the win. The top 10 guys are pushing for the podium. Like, it's you literally can't take it easy a little bit, unless you maybe like you have a crazy big gap and you can, so I think for sure racing incident, like, and like you can't take it easy even in the greasy conditions. Like you just got to do, Finn said he took
and that's
it easy
how we
in
saw the crashes,
one little bit. And the guys that didn't take it easy,
that corner sucked balls. Like, you're dropping into it.
Well, now you got ruts and as well. And
the ruts are afterwards, but like you're dropping into a left-hander, all your weight's going forward, and there's not enough catch berm, or someone before you's like ruined the 2 inches that were there because he's messed it up. Like, that corner just sucks balls to start with, and then I guess the more experienced guy maybe let up a little bit, and then they can get wide of the ruts. But hey, dude, I commend guys pushing that hard, making those mistakes. They suck, but pat yourselves on the back for getting down that mountain so fast in those conditions.
I could see Kolb is like steadily going this year. Like, you remember when he had his build up year when he still maybe hadn't had a podium, or maybe he had one podium, and he was just slowly clicking. And
then he had 4 in a row.
And now, he got set back with his wrist injury from, I think, Queenstown perhaps. But now, he had the magic fend this year before taking the win at home. The double Austrian win with Svali as well. But he's sneakily, he's creeping back in there, like it's going to be another podium,
and he had some fighting talk for Loic in Val di Sole. He had some fighting talk, like a little joke in the interview. He's like, I'll get you at Val di Sole. Like, he likes the track. I would say two guys so Amaury, amazing. I think that's really awesome that he was like there. He overrode. So between Ronan Dunn and Amaury,
his style he looked more like, obviously we love Amaury's riding style because of how committed, aggressive. I don't want to say raggedy, because it's like the opposite of Loic, but not all the way the opposite. But it looks like, and normally that means he's going to go green or go faster. for some reason on this track, it was slowing him down. This race,
Yeah.
anyway.
So Amaury,
Yeah.
I would look at it more in terms of he's trying to find his race limit. So yes, his style, but he doesn't know the race limit pace for himself yet. So he's overgone his limit, made more mistakes. And Leogang, you can't do that. Like, you need to ride mostly like a Loic. And Ronan Dunn, I think that is exactly what you said. He just overrode it. It's like his style, he overrode it. But Leogang has less room for error. Like, if you're just an inch away from the actual good line, you lose momentum, or it's more slippery. Like Poland, maybe there was more give to run a bit wide here and there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I would say for those guys. Like, it's just going to happen with the depth. And for Amaury, I think he's going, okay, so on that type of track, I didn't quite find my race pace. Maybe his race pace isn't actually a win just yet. It's a fourth, it's a fifth, it's a third. Maybe it is. But what he did there was just overrode it. So I think he'll quickly figure that out at Val d'Isle.
I'm looking forward to Leger already, because like, I just
that's
want
when,
to,
yeah, if it all clicks by then, and
like,
Benoit as well.
It's going to be like, 4 or 5 Frenchies versus the world again, just like it always is at Leger. And I can't
that race
wait.
is so cool. And Benoit seemed kind of frustrated at his run. So
he's also like a guy that's a good mix between a Loic and Amaury's style, and it's his own style, but it also, like, I'd say the same thing where he rode and Amaury led a bit of speed with that style. Like Benoit, it looked like he's putting way more effort in than the guys in front of him, so that must take a lot of energy. And it's like you said, it's millimeters to get the downsides and the pumps, and then in your race run, you're going a little bit faster. And if you overshoot one thing, it leads on to the next track. But it obviously it was definitely good enough for the podium. And I don't even know what the time gaps were for the last few guys, but
yeah, I'll bring them up. It was
big gap. Loic had a big gap considering.
He had a big gap. So he had a big gap, 2.3 seconds, but then from second to fifth is good
Another
Lord,
2
only 1 second, under 1 second.
Yeah.
So
that's,
there's the story, way under 1 second. Chisak, yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say someone like Danny Hart's got to just be patient. Like, that's a solid weekend. Loris Verger has to also be patient. 4th at the first 2 splits, 7th, making mistakes, so it's shit. We keep speaking about him. It's racing, as they say. Easier for me to say it out here on the couch into a microphone.
I guess another thing is like there's I still think, like, just having the 30 people only, like when you look at the people that made a mistake, like qualied well and then messed their semi up, was it that? Yeah, the Kiwi kid.
Who? Toby Meek.
Toby Meek. Like you want to see guys like that in the final. Obviously that's the way the sport's set up. That's just you got to do good in both. But
yeah, that's how
like,
it's set up now.
There's quite a few names and stories which to me would pique the interest of a greater audience if they were in the final. It's just 10 more minutes. 10 more riders is 10 more minutes. You can put those guys at 1 minute intervals. You don't need 3 minute gaps for them.
Yeah, we're going
like,
on about it the whole time because of the fact
I guess we're beating a dead horse.
No, we're beating a dead horse, but I want to know why. And it comes back to we're missing a few storylines. Storylines are cool. And then I was thinking, I was lying researching. I was going, why am I so passionate about this? What is going on? I'm like, because I'm a core fan. I want to see certain riders there. I'm the guy, okay, I don't have to buy bikes, thank goodness. Shout out to Scott, come on, Scott Bicycles. However, if you're a core fan, aren't you the very guy that goes and buys the product, race Sunday, buy and sell Monday at a certain level? Yes, we want to grow it, so we want to grow audience. But like the broad audience doesn't go, do they buy a bike? My mom doesn't buy a bike. So she's maybe more a core fan that doesn't buy a bike. So I'm just like tying all the loops. And what I'm saying is like in the nicest possible way, I am pleading for some more riders in the final because those storylines are there. And my worry is you want to see Greg Minnaar finish out his year. You want to see him in the final. You want to see Gwyn back. If Gwyn has to come back and he's not on form and he's not in the final, then you've got to wait another race. He doesn't get the same practice. He doesn't. Sometimes you need to be in the final and you're like, oh, that's the speed. At the next race, he goes from 35th, boom, Gwyn's back to 10th. Like, I don't know how his recovery is going to look. But to me, that's a storyline. And let us know in the comments. I put out the semi-final idea of the LCQ, which we've spoken about a lot. I found when I first spoke about it, which was to burn it in April last year, or I sent it to you last year already, mid-year or early. The reason I'm bringing it up
Andrew,
is
we
it's
are on
only
record.
landed...
You're the first person that spoke about the LCQ. We're going to call it Andrew's LCQ next year.
Yeah, good.
It's going to be called the AN LCQ, and you can play it. We call it the Riding the Needle Podcast LCQ at the
I could care less
Whoop
about
Mountain
the
Bike World Cup.
Yeah, I could care less about the what's the word?
Recognition claim.
I don't care. Like, I don't like whatever. If they use
we want it for the sport.
The health of the sport. I don't even care if you name it someone else and someone got money for the idea and it was mine. I don't care. Loic just spoke about it. Loic said LCQ. I wonder where he heard that idea from. And he said what he would like to see is, which I stole it from. It's not a unique idea, but in downhill it is.
Exactly, yeah.
No idea is unique this day and age. But he mentioned and he said, I'd like to see more in the final. 30 go through, then the LCQ is 10 or even 20. Like, I think calling it that you beat the best 50 in the world, just pre-record the guys. It doesn't have to go on the broadcast. I don't want it on the broadcast.
Hang on.
Yeah, so the reason I brought it up is it's only landed positively. It's only landed positively from the fans on my YouTube comments, the riders, the Jacksons. He doesn't even care. Jackson's never going to worry about not being in the top 30 in his whole life. He said it was good.
More importantly, Andrew, it's good viewing product, and this is what Warner Brothers Discovery are in the business of. It's entertainment, and people want to see stuff that has consequence, and this is even like an added level on it. But then going back to that, because before, when they shrunk to 60 from 80, I was like so against that. But there does need, but I'm also scared about proposed future changes, that it might be like too hard or too small or too elite. But there does need to be less riders racing a World Cup, not necessarily like qualifying, because we're lobbying for more, but we can't have almost 250 elites. We can't have 150 juniors. That's over 3,000 laps on a track. We all want new tracks like Poland and Luneville. You cannot put 3,000 laps on a new track. We complain about bike park tracks. The only tracks, Val de Sol's becoming a bike park track. Even now, the Woods and Leogang, to some degrees, 5 years, it's becoming kind of predictable. For William Monsanan, you can't have a track hold 3,000 laps and not be a sustainable bike park track. So it's like a double-edged sword. So yes, I think we do need to limit the amount of people showing up to race. Well, not necessarily like completely like just chop it, like maybe, otherwise you get...
No, but you need to phase it in. I would argue you need to phase it in.
Yeah, phase it in. But we also like, we can't have like 200 juniors and 300 elites just entering, it's just too many
agree.
riders.
I would say...
But we need more in finals, though.
Yeah, more in finals. It's a dead horse. Keep commenting that you want to see more in the finals, and say we don't even want them broadcasted. Keep hammering them. Let's try. That's all we can do. Is like, we can only complain if we've tried. But I think, and that's the challenge, if you don't phase it in, it spits out people before they should have been spat out. So maybe, like coming to 30 is like, maybe we should have had 50 in the final for a year or two, see how that lands. Then, okay, how do we get to 30? Okay, let's figure it out. Let's keep the sport healthy. I don't make the calls. All I'm doing is like, I just want the sport to flourish and I want the storyline. So that's probably my last bit on the dead horse.
I mean, I take photos, hopefully nice action photos, but I'm really trying to tell a story with the greater body of work from a weekend and from a race and from a year and from a decade. There's a storyline through all of that, not just an Instagram post. So yeah, we're all in it for the stories. We listen to this podcast for the stories. And from our end, from a media side of things, like it's this year, because people just don't like change, and people, give Warner Brothers Discovery a lot of shit for a lot of things. But from our working standpoint, some things have been tightened up. Access is tricky, and a lot of things we were allowed to do, we can't do, which is not awesome. Or but we have, like, this year compared to last year, so they are listening. We've had huge help from like dedicated professional media. I won't say look after the media, but there's press officers that are on site, more than one of them, and they literally helping us do our job better. What can we do? We need to move this, and they help us move it. And we need this, and we have meetings before. And so this is like an open channel of communication. So they're not just like top-down approach. You can't do this, you can't do that. We are now like, which was last year, we were like, it was just huge change all at once for both writers and team managers and photographers and filmers. But it's pretty cool to have people there helping us do our work, even though it is, as the sports become more professional, it's a bit tighter. I can't climb every gondola, tower and tree and building and bridge and antenna and shoot photos like I used to. But
sometimes rules are good, Sven. If you go and fall and hit yourself, and we can't go back to Leogang, we got a bit of a problem. So maybe
because some guy fell off the roof.
Some blanket rules, unfortunately, for the world and society work. I know you hate rules. I know you hate them with a passion.
It took me 50 years, but maybe some are there for a reason. But
I agree. Let's sing some praises, because positive feedback is good. You can't always constructive feedback's good, but being appreciative is even better. They're doing a million things right. They're doing a million things probably better. The sport looks good. We're just kind of looking at it, maybe longevity. Are we worried a bit? Probably. Yeah. Are we too passionate? Probably. But and then if they're doing three things negative, those are always the things people comment on. Same as YouTube. Some guy gave me shit because I uploaded an injury update of Jackson, and I recorded it, 2 weeks before it came out. And he's like, that's not an update. I was literally like, what do you mean it's not an update? He spoke about his injury, spoke about his rehab, spoke about where he might not rate. I mean, I don't understand how that's not an update. No thanks.
Yeah.
But next time, like, give me more clarity. So, like, I can't win with that comment, and maybe they can't either with all the, like, that shit. Hang on. You're doing all this so well. Thank you. Thank you, Warner Brothers, for a certain amount of good shit. And there's obviously stuff that's peeing off some riders and some teams, and they need to work through that.
Yeah, like, I mean, raise the bloody prize money already, For Iles, why did she got €200? What's she going to do with that? She can't even buy a set of tires. She's not paying for her 12s, but still, maybe, anyway. And even valleys,
but then it's like college football or whatever. You're not allowed to take a salary. You're a junior.
No,
not allowed to earn money.
College. This is not college
football. You're not allowed to earn money, bro. You're a junior.
This is not old school Olympics.
I'm going to make a rule. Also, you're an amateur as a junior, not allowed to earn prize money.
Yeah, but easier as an organizer. There's less money to give out.
Hey, they don't listen to my podcast, but if they did, they'd save some cash.
People also keep still harping on 2 years later, like Red Bull versus Warner Brothers Discovery. They don't realize how close Red Bull and Warner Brothers Discovery are working together. Like, I don't know if you see in the live feed, in the background, there's like all sorts of Red Bull productions happening, like kind of they're filming it while the action's going on live, and Elliot Jackson there, Warner's there half the time, and there's a hell of a lot of Red Bull content and long form future dated stuff, and Red Bull lounges and Red Bull brand. It's very obvious that Red Bull is not doing the live feed like they did, but they're very much a part of the whole plan and their whole
and those are two separate things. People, Red Bull was only doing the broadcast. That's all they needed to focus on, and it was great, and they took it to a new level. Warner Brothers Discovery, they're doing the organizing, the taping, the staffing, and the broadcast, and they have production teams for that. So there's a lot there. Speaking of Red Bull, I don't know, I need to give Emily Batty an apology, but apparently they were speaking on the show with Elliot and Warner and Emily about XC and teams, and she was talking about being on a team with downhillers. That
was when you were you guys were teammates,
and I thought it was quite cool being with the XC, and we would go on XC rides. It was really cool. It was Mon Whiteley sort of
you guys even did, like, you switched out bikes and they came down and with you and that stuff.
We did training, and like was threatening to do a short track, but I don't think that was then. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is I'm sure there were a lot of positive things to mention. However, the one memory she has is we were apparently at dinner, and all she said was, Neethling threw a bread roll and hit me in the head. And apparently it's at Val de Sol. So here's a public apology. Was unaware that happened. It probably did, knowing me in my 20s. And I hope it was the time I got my first podium. It was probably blind drunk at a team dinner after the race. So I apologize. Wasn't professional. If it hit you and if I threw food. And then Warner backed me up and he said, yeah, downhillers do like a bit of a food fight. So don't know the full story. It was like 15 years ago.
Emily, at least Andrew didn't have that good result in Leogang when then he would have had a schnitzel slap you on the forehead. So there's that.
Yeah, okay. So that was a random bit of information. Thanks to the gentleman on YouTube that commented.
I'm going to help you out here. I'm coming back 1 second.
No idea where he's gone. I don't know if I'm going to full air or edit. I'm probably going to edit. I'm not. He's back.
What do we do when we're at World Cups and we can't get our normal healthy diet of natural foods and supplements? We travel.
And when you go to sleep at 4 a.m. and you feel like you're run down and you need to get all your supplements, dude, I just got a new stock. I'll bring you some.
Well, Andrew,
if I ever see you again.
For this plug, AG1, and I would
go
like
to drinkag1.com
I would like, no, I'm not putting in your discount coupon.
Moving the needle.
This is not for a discount coupon. This is for a
I'll
year's
get them
supply
to
of
send you
AG1. You better get them to send me some.
You ping me on WhatsApp, they will send you some. And if not, I will send you. I just got this huge. Check my Insta story, Sven, after this.
You can run this as a reel and get me my AG1.
As easy as one scoop in 12 ounces of water if you're in America. Shake it, and off you go. You get all your minerals, probiotics, antibiotics, adaptogens, vitamins. Dude, I'll show you what my old school life used to look like.
You're not even reading it, Andrew. That's well done. You know what? I would like those little handy. I would like those handy travel sachets, so I don't have to have all this stuff.
I got you covered. You got that bottle before me.
I'm in Europe, bro.
Yeah,
we're ahead.
Yeah, you better have used my code, eh?
AG.
Hey,
yeah.
And if you're annoyed by this bit of support of a partner, you get this podcast for free. Sven is on minimal sleep, taking time away from his family. So just appreciate us.
I've had 9 hours sleep in 3 days.
Send us your
9 hours sleep in 3 days. 3 days. You meant to have about 24 hours sleep in 3 days. I've had 9. Actually, I might have had less.
Did you have less now when Ziggy was born? In the first few stages.
You know what? The cameras are getting better. They're getting too fast, too good. Boris and I sometimes help each other out. So then I get some of Boris' shots, he gets some of mine, and that's more time. And then, like, next thing you know, we shot too much, edit too much, deliver too much, and sleep too little.
Oh, there we go. Any other tidbits or sort of storylines of the race? Like, what's your favorite bit? We need to get an ongoing thing, like a AG1 moment of the race. I mean, Crank Brother, and then something like that.
Oh, there was an enduro race this weekend. They pedaled 70 Ks.
That's the problem.
Yeah, there was a problem, which is why I didn't sleep.
No, don't tell me about problems. We're not being negative. Yeah, that enduro does need some love, but they announced there's a world championship, so that's good.
Yeah, it's a bit late.
So that's
the world championships in a few months, and there's like no selection criteria. How do they qualify?
Hey,
they book their travel plans?
What's the positive? We got a world champs. Okay. You focus on the negative.
High time. Yeah, I'm very excited. I love going to Canazai.
There we go.
It would have been nice. It would have been nice to make that Canazai booking like a year ago, 6 months ago, a month ago. But yeah, I'm super excited for that.
Certainly agree. I will take the feedback and circle back to you, Sven, for next year.
And check Martin Maes. Okay, how about this? This is just like blend all the disciplines because this is a mountain biking podcast, not just a downhill podcast. Martin Maes had a shitty day out. He wasn't happy by his standards. And remember, he raced for William on a e-bike without the battery and motor, right?
Correct.
So now now he did his race round and wasn't his normal standard of Martin Maes like brilliance. So he's like, fuck, I'm actually allowed to race the e-bike race the next day because it was the same tracks plus a bunch of power stages, which others had practiced and he didn't because he decided he wanted to race the e-bike race. And then he just smoked them by over a minute.
On the e-bikes?
There we go.
The e-bike class.
He won the e-bike stage. So I said to Martin, I'm like...
I'm so happy for him, man. He's such a talent, man.
I said, are you going to do like a shift in discipline? And he goes, yes. And I was like, oh no, he's even become an e-bike racer. He says, no, next year I want to ride downhill, race downhill. But then I was like, hang on, but now they've got the world champs, like, and you just won by a minute. Maybe you should just also get that rainbow jersey for the... So he's like, oh, I didn't think of that, Sven. And I'll be quite surprised. Maybe I'm calling it here first. Martin Maes, potential, like imagine you won both titles. You had both jerseys, e-bike jersey and enduro jersey.
That's doable, but imagine he could do the double enduro and downhill.
Imagine you won all three jerseys. Imagine he'll be like Pauline Prevost, when you have like three different disciplines rainbow jerseys.
But you reckon he's gonna take a year off enduro and do a full downhill season and then just dabble in enduro? Like what's his deal?
I don't know. I don't know if they have a bike for him or.
Remember when that guy came onto the scene?
Did he's been riding?
He's been riding
but he's been a talent since he's 15 years old. And when he got on,
I know
you could race enduro super young, and he was the very first one at 2013 Punta Ala was his first race, and he was riding with, I don't know if he was already on the Athertons then. I think they were GT, and so he's been riding on a madman like Dan Atherton. Like, how was he? Obviously, he was going to end up being super good and crazy. And
no, but when they got on the same team, like Dan Atherton was worried about how fast he goes. Like, you have no idea how ungodly fast this guy goes on like a shit bike setup. And then I remember he went to Ciota, never touched a slalom bike or race slalom. He just won the slalom. I was like, that's a prestigious thing to win. Like, you're going up against Lopes or whoever at the time. I was like, these guys are insane to beat.
Enduro and e-bikes is like, there's not much left for him to win.
It's like some Jared Graves type stuff, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, I'll start thinking about a moment of the race segment for next time, but that was a clanger of an episode.
I'm going to say moment of the race is Loic. You're still going full gas no matter the conditions, and then the junior women's race runs. Like, that was it.
Yeah, for me, I would say Finn Iles on that storyline. That's cool. That's really, really cool. And why don't you guys hit us up in the comments of this video? And shout out to all you crazy guys that watch on the YouTube and women, because we hit our 1,000 subscribers, Finn. It's not an easy game out there on the YouTube world of everyone staring at our ugly faces.
Oh, is that YouTube? Then since we got videos, shout out to the union for the puffy gilet.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out to Crank Brothers, because if it wasn't for them, Sven and I wouldn't get to chat so much glorious shit all the time. Thanks for taking time out of your day. They are synonymous with downhill racing. Last year they won 13 world champs titles in a row. Just try get that across your brain waves. Sven Martin in the background, if you're on YouTube, that's keeping you young, eh? He's blowing bubbles. Not as cool as the Crank Brothers, but it's not as cool as the Crank Brothers shoes that they've also developed. I saw Luca in some epic colorways, as well as Bernard Kerr. Oh, Troy Brosnan, also so close. I think he overrode the track. But hit them up. They are so supportive of downhill, mountain biking, the podcast. Till the next one, if you're listening this on a podcast app and you are not subscribed, you are disappointing me a little bit. You really are. And Sven, you're disappointing us. So go hit that follow button and search us on YouTube. Peace till the next one.